The steam machine is going to confuse quite a few grandmas out there looking to buy a new iron, and confuse quite a few millennials who thought gaming was going to be more affordable when they got older. Inside this cardboard box is a compact, pre-built desktop computer designed by Valve to bring PC gaming to your living room TV, and it starts at $1,049. We have an HDMI cord and a power cord in the box, but no controller. That would cost $100 more. But the box is rather exquisite. The accordionated cardboard is definitely worth every penny. The Steam machine stands at 6 inches tall, which is massive. It's larger than the Steam Deck, that's to be sure, and 6 times more powerful than its handheld counterpart. It also has a magnetical, removable, customizable faceplate, and we'll come back to this later. The rest of the Tesseract includes a large fan with its hexagonal grille, DisplayPort, HDMI power port, Ethernet, and USB-C ports. At first I thought taking apart the Steam machine was going to be difficult, but then I remembered that Valve isn't Apple, and they would probably throw us a nice bone or two inside. And it looks like I was right. On the bottom we find 4 visible rubberized T8 screw feetsies that I can take out. The rubber washer stays captive, and there's a small dab of blue thread locker to hold the screws in place. Once those 4 pads are gone, I can flip her over to that back fan and unscrew 2 more T8 screws at the top. These are captively locked into the panel, so they are impossible to lose, just like we see inside of the Framework laptop, which is almost the same price. The back grille can lift up and out from the frame, exposing 3 more screws holding the rest of the computational hardware inside the box. And that's it. If all you want to do is clean the dust out of your Steam machine, then this is probably as far as you need to go. A few soft blasts of compressed air should get all the dust out of the aluminum fins. And there are 53 of those fins if you are curious. Not really, but thanks. Flipping it over again to the underside, we have access to the M.2 SSD. This is the long-term hard drive storage where the Steam operating system and all your games are stored on. If you want to expand the brain to 2 or 4 terabytes, you'll need to clone this drive, but that's beyond the scope of our budget and the scope of this teardown. We'll put them right back in for safekeeping. One cool thing that Valve has done is to separate the Wi-Fi from the Bluetooth antennas. You can see all these little wires heading out to each of the corners of the box. 2 wires are for the Wi-Fi 6, the other is for Bluetooth, and the 4th is for the Steam Deck controllers, which are also way out of my budget right now, so I'll be trying to connect telepathically. This guy right here is for the LED strip in the front. When you peel up the lips, it kind of snarls at you in a creepy weird little way with its LED teeth. Let's never do that again. I'll remove 4 more screws holding down the Lego style ribbon connectors. If we want to see the cooling system and the processor, we'll have to set these to the side. We do have to completely remove the USB-C and Ethernet port board, since there is 1 more fan screw hiding behind it. The USB-C port is impressively long, not used to seeing that, and I'll remove 1 last fan screw and unplug that fan from the motherboard. The space in here is used incredibly efficiently. Cool air gets pulled in from the bottom vent and front panel vent, and then the hot air gets blasted out of the back of the Steam Deck after traveling through the fins and passing the vapor chamber. I'll remove 4 more screws holding the heatsink and motherboard to the power supply. The Lego style ribbon cables we unplugged earlier also have to be unstuck from the sides of the power supply. And there it is. The backside of the motherboard, with its RAM now visible and very upgradable. We'll get to that in a second. First I'll pop open the power supply. This guy has 4 silver screws of its own, and once the top gets lifted off, we see globs and globs of some hard plasticky compound. It looks like a Jigglypuff porta-potty. The stiff plasticky potting material helps keep the coils and capacitors from snapping off when you throw the Steam machine in your backpack. It also helps eliminate the electromagnetical vibrations and reduce the high-pitched coil whine that some people hear when electronics turn on. But one thing I know about capacitors is that I don't want to be anywhere near them. So I'll pop the lid back on and make my way back to the motherboard. If you look here in the corner of the power supply, it has 2 female receivers that correspond with male prongs on the motherboard. And this is how the power supply transfers its power onto the circuits. I have 16 gigs of RAM in my Steam machine, and if you have the funds available, adding a second 16 gig stick to the other slot would unlock the dual channel bandwidth, and it might boost your frame rates by about 15%. But to buy that RAM, you'll probably have to mortgage your house. I'm just kidding, nobody has a house. Valve has been nice enough to number the screws on the back of the CPU cooler, and even color code the springs on the CPU bracket. We have silver, black, green, blue, orange, and pink anodized springs. It's kinda cool, and I feel sad for people who aren't subscribed. They don't get to learn all these fun things. And then finally, we can lift the motherboard away from the CPU cooler. And yes, the cooler takes up the vast majority of the space inside of this steam machine. We see gobs and gobs of pink thermal paste sitting on top of both the AMD processor, and even more thermal paste chilling the 8 gigs of VRAM for the AMD GPU. And we get our closer look at the copper vapor chamber snaking through the aluminum fins as it tries to quietly dissipate the heat generated from that main board. It's fitting, I guess, that the steam machine would use the steamy vapor in a heat pipe for cooling. But with how cool liquid cooling is getting these days, the steam machine box could probably be half this size if it was liquid cooled, like what we saw on the red Magic Astra 2 gaming tablet. Maybe the next generation will be even smaller. To be honest, I'm kinda shocked at how easy this was to take apart. The steam machine has basically one screw type, and I could upgrade the RAM in about 10 minutes if the data centers weren't hogging it all. Not bad. Not bad at all. With the steam machine slotted back into the exterior housing and the little rubber feetsies screwed back into the base, it's time to see if the steam machine still turns on. Personally, I think the best mod anyone can make to their black box is to bring the insides to the outsides, with mine and D-Brand's X-ray skins. The skins come in both light and dark versions, showing the actual metallurgical X-rays of the actual insides. Or, you know, if gaming is your world, you can square earth your box to better pwn the whole planet. Link is down in the description. I got a clean screen hooked up to my steam machine, and then I'll hit the power button, and just like that I can turn the whole world on, all in a day's work. If we get 50,000 likes, I'll sell a kidney and take apart the Steam Deck controller, and thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.